Hello, students. It's Diksha here, your English teacher, and in today's session, we are going to take up the topic letters. So, the question is, what is a letter? So, letter is a written message. We all knew that, right? Nowadays, we communicate with each other over the phone through video calls and instant messaging, right? However, there are still times when we need to write letters. It is important to know the different types of letter and how to write them. As you know, letters can be categorized into two parts: formal letter and informal letter. We all know that formal letters are the official letters written to government officials, business enterprises, editors of newspapers. These can be applications, invitations, or complaints also. Whereas informal letters or personal letters are written to parents, siblings, relatives, and friends. So, this was the introduction of the letter and its two types. Now, let us move towards these two types of letter and we will get to know about these two types of letter in detail. Formal letters. A formal letter can be written to make requests, suggestions, proposals, inquiries, and complaints. They may be addressed to heads or officers of institutions such as banks, railways, and municipal corporations. You may also write to place, cancel an order, and acknowledge receipt of consignments. So, formal letters are official letters written to people in their official capacity or to a firm. They are formal in nature. Nothing in such letters should be personal or intimate. With subjects such as inquiry, orders, transfer of money, reference, request, booking complaints, loss and apology, a formal letter can be written. What matters is setting out your letter correctly, keeping it to the point, and maintaining the formal tone. The formal letter is written for business or professional purposes with a specific objective in mind. It uses simple language which is easy to read and interpret. Alright, now we will learn about some points that which we should keep in our mind while writing a formal letter. Formal letters are brief and to the point and are written in a neutral tone. As I have explained you that formal letters should be written in brief, it should be to the point, and it should be written in a formal tone. Now, the second point is the sender's address and the date are written on the upper left hand side. Now you will the writer's address, who is writing the letter, whose address should be mentioned on the first page of the letter on the upper left hand side, followed by the date. Alright. Now the third point says the recipient's name, designation and address are written on the left hand side below the sender's address. So if you are writing the letter, if you are writing a formal letter to one of the head of a bank, so what you will do, first you will write your address, then you will put the date, and then after writing your address and date, you will write the recipient's name. That means whom you are sending the letter. That person's name along with his or her designation, along with their institution's address you will mention. This is called initial salutation, right? You are giving the information about the person whom you are writing the letter. Then a formal letter always mentions the subject at the beginning. It comes after the initial salutation and captures the objective of the letter in a single short sentence. Always remember that formal letters have the subject. This highlights the aim of writing the letter. The subject of the formal letter should be very brief, 6 to 8 words, and must be preceded by the word subject. The receiver, through the subject, understands the purpose of the letter at a glance. So what is the sequence of writing a formal letter? First, you are putting your address. If you are writing the letter, then you will put the date. Then you will put the recipient's name, that to whom you are sending the letter, along with his or her designation, and then you will put his or her institution's address, and then you will put the subject, that in what purpose you are writing the letter. All right, and then you will write the body part of the letter. All right, the body part is divided into 3 parts that I will explain you when I will show you the sample, all right, of formal letter. Now when you have written the body part of your letter, then you can end your letter by writing the subscription, such as yours faithfully, yours sincerely. After writing the subscription, yours faithfully, yours sincerely, these are the complimentary closure. This is to end. The phrase is yours faithfully and yours sincerely. We use to end the letter with respect in a polite manner. All right. After writing the complimentary closure, that is subscription, you will do the last part. You will write the last part where the sender's name and signature come on the left at the end of the letter. So this is the last part where the sender of the letter signs off with his first and last name. All right. The signature line may also include a second line for the title or designation of the sender. All right. If you want to mention your designation, you can also put the second line by writing your designation. All right. The common forms of leave taking or subscriptions are yours faithfully and yours sincerely. So these were the 6 points of formal letters which we should keep in our mind while writing a formal letter. Now let us move towards the sample of a formal letter. Address. As I have explained you, address. Whose address should be mentioned here on the upper left hand side? The sender's address. The person who is writing the address, that person's address should be mentioned on the upper left hand side. All right. Why? Because the sender's address is one of the most essential components, also known as the return address. This informs the reader where you wrote the letter and when. All right. The where, which should be the writer's full postal address, gives the address to which the reader may reply, and the when, that means the date which you are putting after writing your address, that is for reference, as it gives the reader the date on which you wrote. All right. So that is why we mention the address and date. All right. So immediately after the sender's address comes the date on which the letter is written. Now let us come towards the recipient's or receiver's address. All right. You will do the initial salutation to the principal. All right. If I am writing a letter to the principal of a school, I will write to the principal. Okay. I am giving the initial salutation. Then I will put his or her name along with his or her designation, and then I will write the institution's address. All right. The corresponding address, that is the address of the recipient of the mail, is written here. Students, you should start with the receiver's designation followed by the name of the organization and then the full address pin code and country if the information is known. Alright, then comes the subject part. This highlight the aim of writing the letter. This highlight the aim of writing the letter. If the name of, the subject of the formal letter should be very brief in 6 to 8 words and must be preceded by the word subject. The receiver through the subject understands the purpose of the letter at a glance. Alright, so after writing sender's address, date, receiver's address, subject, after mentioning the subject, now comes the salutation part. This is the customary greeting to the recipient of the letter. If the name of the recipient is known, the salutation start with respected, followed by Mr., Mrs., Miss, or you can also start with dear, followed by Mr., Mrs., Miss, etc. If the person is unknown or even the gender is not known, the recipient can be addressed as dear sir, dear madam, or respected sir, respected madam. These phrases are for the salutation. Now comes the body part. This is the body part. Alright. The most important element of any letter. It furnishes the reason behind writing the letter. For formal letters, students, you should use short, clear, logical paragraphs to state the subject matter. The body of the letter is generally divided into 3 parts or 3 paragraphs. First is the introduction part, alright. That states the main point. Then it comes the middle part, supporting points and details to justify the need and importance of letter writing. Then comes the third part, which is a conclusion part, request for some action or what is expected. Alright. Now after this comes subscription or complimentary closure. This is to end the letter with respect in a polite manner, such as yours faithfully, yours sincerely. Alright. This is the subscription part where you are ending the letter in a polite gesture, in a polite manner. Now then comes signature line. This is the last part where the sender of the letter signs off with his or her first and last name. The signature line may also include a second line for the title or designation of the sender. So this is the introduction of the formal letter, that how you will write and where you will put the certain points. Alright, now let us move towards the informal letter. Informal letter. Those letters which are written for personal purpose are known as informal letters. Right? So an informal letter, also referred to as a friendly letter, is a personal letter written to friends, family member, to relative, etc. It is written in a personal fashion. You can write it to anyone with whom you have a non-professional relationship. Although this does not exclude business partners or workers whom you are friendly with either. Now, the informal letter can be used for some reasons like conveying message, news, giving advice, congratulating the recipient, requesting information, asking question, etc. It is a personal letter written to whom you are familiar with, like friends, siblings, parents, or any other closed ones. While writing an informal letter, one can be afford to be friendly and make use of personal or emotional tone. Right? Now watch out. Watch out says that remember not to use apostrophe with yours. When you are signing off the letter, at that time always remember in the subscription part, when you are writing yours loving friend, yours faithfully, yours sincerely, at that time you will not put the apostrophe before the letter S. Alright. Now let us move towards the some key points which we should keep in our mind while writing an informal letter. So over here 4 points are given to be kept in mind while writing a informal letter. So informal letters are written in a conversational style. They express warmth and intimacy. Keep these points in mind while writing an informal letter. Informal letters are written to friends and relatives we know for personal communication and require a casual or emotional tone. Alright? And the informal letters can be a lengthy one also. Alright, as we know, the formal letter should be concise and that does not include any irrelevant matters. In contrast, the informal letter can be lengthier. Alright, you can write informal letter in a lengthier way. Alright, now informal letters, some points which we should keep in our mind. The address of the sender should be written on the upper left hand side of the page, followed by the date. We all know the first thing to write is your address. That is the address of the writer, basically the sender's address. We usually write the address on the left hand side of the page at the very top. The address should be accurate and complete. Even when writing to close friends or relatives, the address must be written so they can reply back to the letter with ease. If the recipient of the letter is in another country, do not forget to write your country as well in the address. Alright? Now then comes date. Next, just below the address, we write the date. This allows the reader to have a reference as to when the informal letter was written. He or she can then relate better to the contents of the letter. The date preferably should be an expanded form. Alright? Then comes the greeting. The greeting can be written as Dear Father, my dear Uncle, dear Savita. Now, since you know the person you are writing to, the greeting can be informal as well. If it is a friend or someone close to your age, you can greet them by their first name like Dear Alex. Alright? If you are writing to your relative like your mother, father, aunt, uncle, etc., you may greet them as such. For example, Dear Mom, Dear Uncle, Dear Aunt. And if you are writing to an elder person, someone you respect greatly, you can address them as Mr. or Mrs. Like say for example, you were writing a congratulatory letter to your teacher. It can be addressed as Dear Mrs. Alex. Alright? Then the next part comes. The letters should be divided into at least 3 paragraphs. The introduction, the body, this can be of more than 1 paragraph, and the conclusion. Now we begin writing the actual letter. The introductory paragraph sets the tone for the whole letter. You might begin by asking the recipient about their well-being, or you may say that you hope the letters find them in good health and great spirits. The opening of informal letters should be casual and comforting. It must not be formal and direct as in business letters. Now, body of the letter. The letter overall should maintain a friendly tone, but you have to adjust the language and the wordings according to who you are writing to. With a friend, you can afford to be very casual and flippant even, but if you are writing to an elder relative, you must be extremely respectful and considerate. One way to determine the tonality of your letter is to remember how you talk to the person in a conversation, and then apply the same syntax and sentiments to the letter. Then comes the conclusion part. In the conclusive paragraph, sum up the reason for writing the letter, that is, summarize the letter. Say a meaningful and affectionate goodbye to the reader, and do not forget to invite the reader to write back or reply to your letter. It shows an intention to keep the conversation going. Alright? Then comes end the letter with a closing salutation. Now, there is no one way to sign off informal letters since they do not follow a strict format. You may sign off as you please. Some commonly used phrases are your affectionately, your lovingly, your loving friend. All right. So these are the samples of signing of the letter. You can also write best wishes, kind regards, kindly. So this is how you can sign off from your informal letter. Now we will move towards the sample of an informal letter. This is an format of informal letter. As you can see, address. Here you will mention your address along with the date. All right. The address shows that from where you have written the letter, as I have explained you, and also the date shows that on which date you have written the letter. Then the salutation, which we have already discussed. Then the body part of the letter, which is divided into three parts: the introductory part, the main body, and the conclusive paragraph. All right. Then you can sign off by writing a salutation or signature or subscription by convey my regards. In your subscription you can write your loving friend, your loving son, and then you can sign off by putting your first and last name as your signature. So this is the sample of an informal letter. I hope the basic concept of formal and informal letter is clear to everyone. Now in the next session we will meet with another topic. All right, till then, bye everyone.